Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to cut through the noise, pull out the key insights from the source material just for you. Today, we're kind of pulling back the curtain on a hidden ingredient, something you've probably never heard of, but it's quietly safeguarding your phone, keeping food fresh, maybe even preventing explosions. We are talking about anti-static additives. These are, well, indispensable in the specialty chemicals world, absolutely essential for cutting down static, boosting safety, and improving performance in tons of products. Think plastics, packaging, textiles, electronics, cars, the list goes on. So our mission today is to quickly get a handle on the really significant growth and the global implications of this, well, seemingly invisible market. We're drawing insights from a pretty comprehensive market forecast report.
Okay, let's unpack this. But maybe before we jump into the market numbers, could you give us a quick primer? Like when we say antistatic additives, what are they? Fundamentally, how do they actually work?
Yeah, good place to start. Essentially, we're talking about compounds that get mixed into a material or sometimes coated onto its surface. Their main job basically is to stop static charge from building up. They do this in a couple of ways. Either they make the material just slightly conductive so the charge can dissipate, safely, or they attract a very thin layer of moisture from the air onto the surface. And that moisture acts like a path for the static to just bleed away. So they can be internal mixed right in with the plastic or external like a spray or a dip. It's this mechanism that lets them work silently but really effectively across all sorts of applications.
That makes perfect sense. Sort of the silent guardians for so many things we use.
Ah.
Okay, now let's talk about the scale of this invisible industry. The report kicks off with some pretty striking numbers about the global market. What were the key figures that really jumped out at you? The size, the growth projections.
Well, what's fascinating here is just how robust the growth is. I mean, back in 2021, the market was already valued at $560.27 million. But the projections, that's where it gets really interesting. By 2025, it's expected to cross $702 million. And looking further out, by 2033, it's projected to hit, get this, $1.1 billion. That works out to a pretty healthy compound annual growth rate, a CAGR of 5.8%. And what people often miss, I think, is how vital these additives are becoming for, like, next-gen tech. Think about flexible electronics or maybe wearable medical devices. In those areas, static isn't just annoying, it can cause catastrophic failure, tiny components getting fried. So these additives aren't just useful, they're, well, absolutely essential.
Right, 5.8% CAGR might just sound like a number, but for specialty chemicals, which isn't always known for, explosive growth, what does that steady rate really tell us about how mature this market is, how indispensable it is?
Exactly.
Yeah.
For a foundational component like this, 5.8% isn't just growth. It's proof of how deeply integrated it is, its irreplaceable role in global manufacturing. It signals that this isn't some trendy flash-in-the-pan market. It's critical. It's a steadily expanding necessity, really fundamental to modern industry and product reliability.
That's a great way to put it. And what's really interesting is how this overall growth isn't uniform across the globe. It's being driven by pretty distinct dynamics in different regions. So where are we seeing the most intense activity?
The Asia-Pacific region is definitely the standout, the fastest-growing hub. It grew from about $209 million in 2021, and it's projected to almost double, hitting around $433 million by 2033. That's a strong CAGR. 6.42%. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the global shifts in manufacturing, it makes total sense why. Countries like China and India are really at the forefront. China's projected to reach almost $175 million by 2033. India is close behind at nearly $86 million, both growing around 7% annually. And this isn't just like organic growth. It's fueled by a massive investment in electronics manufacturing, plus the huge rise in consumption of packaged goods across the region. Japan, South Korea, Southeast Asia, they're all making significant contributions too.
Okay, so Asia-Pacific is clearly leading the charge in terms of growth rate. But what about North America? It's traditionally been a powerhouse in chemicals. What's the trajectory looking like?
North America still holds a very significant slice of the market, no doubt. It's projected to grow from around $148 million in 2021 up to $272 million by 2033. So it's maintaining a respectable 5.3% CAGR. The U.S. is still the dominant player there, expected to generate over $214 million by 2033. But Canada and Mexico also contribute with steady demand, mainly driven by their pretty robust plastics and packaging industries. They're always looking for better material properties, you see.
Right. And Europe, what's their part in this global antistatic story?
Europe's also showing consistent expansion. Projections show it growing from about $123 million in 2021 to over $232 million by 2033. Their growth seems particularly influenced by innovation-heavy sectors, think automotive, advanced electronics, and also a really strong proactive focus on sustainable packaging solutions. That's big in Europe. Germany is a key leader, expected to hit nearly $42 million by 2033, with a CAGR actually above 6%. And you also see consistent, strong demand coming from places like France, Italy, Spain, and Russia, too.
It's truly amazing how widespread these things are. What about the other regions, the ones we sometimes hear less about in these big market reports? Are there any surprising trends popping up there?
Yeah, they're definitely worth watching, and their growth often signals broader industrial development. In South America, for instance, revenues are expected to more than double from $33 million in 2021 to over $77 million by 2033. That's largely driven by expanding manufacturing in Brazil, Colombia, Argentina. The Middle East, it's projected to reach about $54 million by 2033. Saudi Arabia and Turkey are leading the adoption there as their industrial bases develop. And Africa is seeing a steady rise, too, from just under $17 million in 2021 to projected over $33 million by 2033. Nigeria and South Africa seem to be the key contributors there as they build out their domestic manufacturing capabilities.
So it really doesn't matter if we're talking established markets or, rapidly emerging economies. The consistent theme is growth. It just underscores how essential these components are becoming everywhere. But while the report paints a pretty rosy picture, are there any potential threats or disruptors that could maybe change this trajectory? I'm thinking like new materials that just don't build up static, or maybe big shifts in how things are made.
That's an insightful question. It's important to remember that these strong projections often assume, relatively stable geopolitical conditions and continued industrial growth. Any major global economic downturn or significant supply chain chaos like we've seen recently could certainly throw a wrench in the works. As for material innovation, well, there's always research into materials with better inherent properties, but the cost and scalability of those alternatives, that often keeps these specialized additives in high demand. They're just very efficient and versatile. Honestly, the biggest potential disruptor might be a fundamental shift in product design itself, perhaps moving away from plastics altogether in some areas. But that feels like a much larger, longer-term kind of challenge.
That makes perfect sense. So it really seems the big forces driving this global consistency are pretty clear. Ongoing expansion of plastic production, the ever-increasing demand for consumer electronics worldwide, and just a growing focus on product safety and performance everywhere. This kind of raises an important question, though, about the industry's role going forward. What's actually on the horizon for these additives themselves? Are they evolving?
Oh, definitely. We're seeing innovation not just in pure performance, but increasingly in sustainability. There's a significant push towards developing bio-based additives, recyclable ones. And this isn't just about being green, It's about getting ahead of future regulations and changing consumer demands for products that are more environmentally conscious. This shift towards, let's call it sustainable chemistry, could potentially unlock whole new markets and applications, especially as industries look really hard at reducing their environmental footprint, but without sacrificing performance or safety. It really highlights, again, how fundamental these additives are. It makes you realize, countless everyday items we touch, often without a second thought, have been subtly engineered for safety and performance because of these little chemical helpers.
So what does this all mean for you? Well, we've had quite the deep dive. We've unpacked the pretty significant size and the rapid growth of this anti-static additives market. We've seen its global reach, how it underpins so many different sectors. It's clear this is an industry that, while it operates quietly, is absolutely critical to how things work.
Absolutely. And it just reinforces the idea, I think, that understanding these often hidden industries gives you a much richer, fuller picture of the global economy and, frankly, technological progress. It's not always the headline news, is it? But it's completely essential to our modern world.
Couldn't agree more. So as you go about your day-to-day, maybe just consider how many everyday items you use that are invisibly optimized, made safer by these specialized additives. And maybe give a thought to what future innovations in material science might be silently shaping our world next.